everybody. So we're fortunate to have Ajit George, who is the founder and managing partner of Second Chances Farm, who is here with John Hammond, who is a mechanical engineer and collaborator with Ajit. Second Chances Farms are an interesting group. I'm going to just read from their mission statement to give you some sense of what they're up to. Second Chances Farm is a commercial hydroponic indoor vertical farm that grows chemical and pesticide-free leafy greens, herbs, and pharmaceutical grade hemp. We also nurture people. Our farm employees, whom we call agripreneurs, are formerly incarcerated persons who make up the workforce. Ajit is here to talk about how to design infrastructure for buildings to support indoor food production. So it should be an interesting conversation. So on that point, I'm going to turn it over to Ajit and John.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having us. So John and I are sitting together in our conference room at Second Chances Farm, and we welcome this opportunity because we are in the process of expanding to Philadelphia, and what that means is that we have signed a letter of intent. I can't disclose the exact address other than tell you it's in North Philadelphia, and for a 50,000 square foot space that we hope to be in within the next 12 months, but hopefully less than that, of a very old building that we are breathing life into that will become Second Chances from Philadelphia. What we're going to talk today primarily is what we have done here in Wilmington and Delaware, and sort of a little background, and then during question and answers, I'm happy to answer any questions. So we are in Delaware. So the most important thing is we are not a nonprofit. We are a public benefit limited liability corporation. So we are a for-profit corporation that sorts a nonprofit problem. We're a qualified opportunity fund, which we will also be in Philadelphia, which means that we attract capital from potential people who want to benefit from the Opportunity Zone Act. We are a certified minority business enterprise in Delaware, and we are in Delaware, we are also a foreign trade zone. And so we're all kinds of things for different people, and there are reasons for all of that. The reason for us to being in a foreign trade zone is that if there's extensive tariffs on stuff, particularly from China, that we have to import, it gives us a chance to minimize or reduce it. So we are Delaware's first commercial, we are Delaware's first commercial indoor hydroponic vertical farm, and we grow, as the introduction said, leafy greens, herbs, and hems. We hire and mentor formerly incarcerated. That's all right. We hire and mentor formerly incarcerated persons who we call returning citizens. And the reason we call them returning citizens is because they have repaid their debt to society by essentially having served their time. And we compare this to getting a mortgage. If you have a 30-year mortgage, you repaid it, you don't expect the bank to have any claim on your life. So we don't look behind it other than just make sure that they have no outstanding time left on their sentence and there's no outstanding stuff. And once they have served their time, they are welcome. Our criteria is you must spend one night in a prison. Most people spend a lot of time. Our person with the longest time right now we have is 32 consecutive years they're served in time. So we are fueling economic growth in underserved communities by converting preferably older buildings into eco-friendly vertical plant factories. And that's what we do. What's the problem we are trying to solve? We are minimal opportunities for individuals re-entering society after serving time in prison. There's a scarlet letter for almost every person coming in, particularly if you're a felon, because they come out and most people don't want to take a chance. There are many good reasons for not taking a chance because historically it has been a very complicated thing. But the truth is the revolving door of recidivism in America is very serious. More than 75% of incarcerated people are rearrested within 5 years after they're released. This is not a good sign. In addition, there's a tremendous lack of fresh, locally grown pesticide year-round quality produce. And so one of the things that we can do is we can grow inside 365 days a year. What are the benefits of locally sourced indoor vertical farm? We are, first of all, soilless, and that's a real word. When I first started this, I didn't think it was. It really is. We have no soil in the farm. We're unaffected by weather, climate, and natural disasters. So lettuce, for example, mostly is grown in California year-round. And so if there is an E. coli disaster or any other contamination, it affects the supply chain immediately. We're grown 365 days a year. We're completely chemical-free, don't use any chemicals or pesticides. And because we are grown locally, and our goal is to serve communities within 25 to 30 miles of where we grow, is lower carbon footprint due to less travel. And because we are fresh and locally grown, there's a longer shelf life. We grow, it's hard to believe, and we'll talk about this in a number, we grow 50 to 100 times more food per square foot. I know that's a big number. Towards the end, I'll talk about what, for example, in Philadelphia, we'll grow in the 50,000 square foot farm and put it in numbers that'll have it. And the most important thing is we use 90% less water than traditional field-grown farming because we recycle and do it. We are, at this point, not a USDA organic farm because we are better than organic. Most people don't know this, that USDA organic allows a certain level of pesticide. So we say we're better than organic and 100% pesticide free. So our industry is called controlled environment agriculture. So that's what we are. And so when somebody comes to visit our farm, and you're all invited to come, we are open for appointments to visit our farm in Wilmington, which is a prototype production scale farm. We said there's 4 things you need to grow an indoor vertical farm. One is lights, in which our case is all LED lights that are state of the art. So they produce less heat and they are more energy efficient than incandescent or fluorescent lights. Number 2, you need water. In Wilmington, we use city water. Number 3, we need nutrients. We get to add that as is needed. And based on plants, in a perfect world, basil would get a different nutrient things than lettuce because they have a different need. And the final thing we need is, believe it or not, is carbon dioxide. And so those are some of the things that we do. So we produce, we are competing in the organic produce part. We cannot compete with mass-grown stuff in Mexico or Costa Rica or anywhere else. So we compete in the organic produce section. So in this case, which is a $16.5 billion industry, and our goal is to meet and match the prices that are offered to anybody in the organic industry. So we have, our approach is 3 items: re-entry, redemption, and revitalization. So we believe in the power of second chances to treat people fairly and respectfully by giving returning citizens their deed back to life. And so the other is to redeem their lives and then to revitalize older buildings in neighborhoods. So in Wilmington, we're in an opportunity zone. We are in an economically disadvantaged area. We're next with half a block from the largest public housing project. It's an area that is notorious for crime, it's notorious for it. And we think by taking the building we're in, we have really made a big difference in the neighborhood, which is the same case in Philadelphia. We have picked a very old building to revitalize and in a very challenging area in North Philadelphia. What's the economic impact of incarceration in Delaware? In Delaware, it cost $320+ million to taxpayers in 2019 to house prisoners. We had 3,329 people on any given day. Only about 10% or 409 people serve life sentences, which means 90% of the people will come out. Because of the revolving door, 11,006 people were released annually. So people go in and out of prison all the time. And the most amazing thing is it costs in Delaware $64,302 to house people in prison. So I got into this as a capitalist, really, because I thought it was a misuse of capital to have $64,000 for recidivism, to put somebody in prison. And my goal was to interrupt the recidivism cycle by dealing with people who are coming out of prison. So our solution is replacing recidivism with compassionate capitalism. And the word compassionate is important because what we are is about giving back. And we hired somebody who's a full-time person with us, whose job is called a restorative justice program coordinator. That's not a normal job in a normal industry, but in this group, because we hire mostly returning citizens, we needed that. The challenges we face are significant because people can go back very quickly into, they have behavioral health issues. Sober living is really challenging. They fall into addiction. So by having a full-time person work with them, they are referred to programs, and we make that happen. So that is part of why we call it compassionate capitalism. And the other part I will simply say is our path is, while we are creating green collar jobs, which is a term we apply for this industry, for what we are creating, what I would say to you is we are trying to make a difference by giving a pathway to entrepreneurship. We are one of the leading sponsors in the United States because we are pretty much science-based, research-based, and technology innovation. We have made key partnerships with major ag tech leaders to be the forefront of sustainable indoor agriculture. Agriculture has changed significantly, and indoor agriculture is changing daily. So Sanan Bio, which is our partner from China that produces the lights and the system we grow in, has invested $500 million in indoor farming, and we're benefiting from all of their knowledge. And the other company is a Dublin-based company that is working with us very closely, called Farmony, in really doing technology so that we can monitor every single part of this stuff. We'll very briefly tell you our location in Wilmington is in an opportunity zone. We are in a 47,500 square foot building, and so it's over an acre under roof. And but as I mentioned we're next door to a very poor community. And I won't spend much time on this other than tell you the Opportunity Fund which was part of the Jobs Act of 2017, provides economic incentives to invest in economically distressed communities, North Philadelphia being one, Wilmington being, as parts of Wilmington being one, and throughout Pennsylvania, there's no shortage of opportunity zones. Our growth strategy is really, we want to attract investors who are interested in economic, social, and environmental performance. So we're never going to attract investors who only want the highest rate of return, because there's always something that can do better than what we can do. But we are looking to give a rate of return, but we're also looking for people who want to make a social impact. The next slide is probably the most important slide for scale. Our proposed Second Chances Farm in North Philadelphia, it will have 50,000 square feet roughly, which is, as you can imagine, is roughly 1.14 acres under roof. And just for scale, we will be putting in 1,020 modules. What's a module? It's 3 feet by 4 feet. You'll see a video very shortly. And they will be 8 levels high. So each module is 3 by 4 feet, 8 levels high, which means we have 8,160 levels. Based on 108 plants per level, on any given day, we will grow 881,280 plants, harvesting 203,000 plants in any given week. And in a year, it's 10,573 plants. So we have an option of growing 108 plants per level or 180 plants level, because we have this technology to do both. At 108, we can grow bigger plants. At 180 is smaller plants. So it depends on what the market demands. But on 180 plants, we'll grow 1,468,000 plants on any given day, and generating 17,625,000 plants a year. There is not a single 1 acre property in the United States or anywhere in the world that could generate 17 million plants in 1 year. And that's really the efficiency on it. So we're going to give you a quick tour of the farm, and we have a little video queued. Hopefully technology will work. And my friend here is going to hit a button, and there we go.
We can't hear the volume.
Yeah, so John, when you go to share a live video, or maybe stop sharing and reshare, there'll be a little checkbox in the bottom left that says share audio.
Okay, I'm listening.
Oh, down in the checkbox on the bottom.
Yeah, if you stop sharing.
Okay, stop sharing.
Stop sharing.
Okay.
Now go to reshare again, and before you click share your screen, just check the little box in the bottom left-hand corner, which will share the audio.
Okay, so I go back to share screen.
Share screen. Then in the
I pick-
bottom corner, you'll see a little checkbox for share audio. When it pops up to share your screen.
Is that the one we're at? Point. Okay, share. And there is a button I hit.
Well, before you hit share, there's a little checkbox on the share screen for
I'll
share
go through this
audio.
one more time.
Or if you just throw me the link to the YouTube, I can do it real quick for you.
Try. Where's my share? Share screen.
Share, there it is. Share regular sound. See that in the corner?
Yeah, share video sound.
Share computer sound.
That's
Right
that.
here?
No, right at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. There you go.
The challenges of technology if we were just in person. Okay.
Or vertical farming is a solution to the food security question. Second Chances Farm is at the forefront of this in both vision and technology. This system provides the ability to grow a large range of commercial crops in the most cost-effective way 365 days a year. We are using some of the best practices and innovations known to increase agricultural yield while providing resiliency, reliability, and innovation to our food supply chain. Our produce is better than organic, as we do not use any pesticides or herbicides whatsoever.
I'm Evan Bartle, I'm Chief Growing Officer of Second Chances Farm. So what we're doing is we're trimming all of the crops that we planted about 3 weeks ago. All these plants here have been in the system for 3 weeks, and basically we're just cutting off the leaves, only the good stuff that people want, and leaving basically the bottom of the stem, which we get rid of. This will go over, get weighed by another person on our team, and then packaged into packages and sold to restaurants, CSAs, that's community shared agriculture, and grocery stores.
We have identified 5 hyperlocal markets within 30 miles of our farm. Geographically, it includes the state of Delaware, southeastern Pennsylvania, including Philadelphia, the 5th largest city in the United States, South Jersey, and Cecil County in Maryland. We are targeting grocery stores, starting with the 6 ShopRite stores, which have the largest market share in this marketplace.
Our organization is founded on that principle of second chances. Second Chances Farms, where you have a local organization right in our state. Of course, we want to support that organization.
You made a commitment to purchasing from the farm.
We're excited for that. We know we can trust the brand and trust the product. Proud to engage about 25% of the state's population on a weekly basis. And the opportunity for us to partner with a startup in Wilmington like Second Chances Farms gives us the opportunity to buy essentially a C worth of investment growth.
We launched our farm-to-table delivery program on March 17th, 2020, at the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis. Since then, over 350 people have signed up to get 4 weekly deliveries for $99.95 a month. This has been a great success story.
I get to be healthy, right? Have awesome greens. I am supporting my community and making it healthier and helping those learn a new job skill and get grounded.
I love this program, this process. For me, Second Chances is more than just a job. For me, it's a lifestyle change that I needed to have happen.
So that is the end of that video. And with that, I'm going to turn over to John Hammond. And the reason I invited John to join this presentation is because one of the great challenges we faced is that we didn't realize how different it is to use HVAC, which is very critical because we use air conditioning year round in an indoor vertical farm. John is going to tell you why he is our salvation.
Well, thank you for that. Hi, everybody. So what I'm going to talk about initially is there's some specific challenges that indoor aquaculture presents to an HVAC system, and one that has, indoor air quality and energy usage concerns. So as an example here, you'll see in the table that one, since we're replacing the sun with indoor lighting, there's considerable heat generated from that, which means that you have a sensible load, i.e. Load from a temperature source that can be as high as 80 times what you'd have in normal comfort conditions, say in an office building. Also, the temperature range requirements can vary considerably between an indoor farm daytime, which is when the lights are on, and an indoor farm nighttime when the lights are off, as well as considerable differences in humidity ranges that you need to keep. Plants require a vapor pressure deficit in order to promote healthy growth, and that results in satisfactory crop yields. So you need to manage the humidity level in the conditions inside the room so that the plants, again, they pull the nutrients from the medium in which they grow, and then they give that moisture back as the moisture transpires from the leaves. So that presents some very specific HVAC challenges, in addition to the desired CO2 levels for indoor growing, which is greater than normal ambient conditions for which we exist in normally. As an example, during the daytime, there's a high sensible load from lighting. There is a high latent load from evapotranspiration, which is the plants releasing moisture through the leaves. And then you get a bit of sensible cooling when that water in the plants evaporate. Just like if you come out of the ocean and your skin is wet, the wind's blowing, you cool your skin. It's the same phenomenon there. So it's offset some by sensible cooling from that evaporation. And so you have a demand that is both sensible and latent for the indoor growing facility. And by comparison at night, that sensible heat load from the lights goes away. You have a medium latent load from evapotranspiration. And you've got some sensible cooling from that as well. So at nighttime, the demand is primarily dehumidification. In more detail, you can see, if you look at these general curves for these different plants, the evapotranspiration tends to be higher during the day. And then over the next hour or so, when the lights go off, that eventually stabilizes at a lower level, which can present some challenges to an HVAC system to adapt to those changing conditions. The load calculations can be relatively straightforward. So for a small growing room or facility, a typical sensible load from the lights might be about 98,000 BTUs per hour. That is offset by some cooling from evapotranspiration. And then on the latent side, you've got about 20,000 BTUs per hour of latent load. And a typical HVAC equipment approach would be, since you have to get moisture out of the air, you cool to the dew point. And often that is, in the mid to low 50s. And then you end up reheating the air, which is a source of, basically wasted energy. These are the typical calculations. And that allows you to calculate, where you need to be from a supply air point of view, as measured against the cubic feet per minute of airflow that you desire. Again, not overly complicated, but when you get into these indoor environments and these changing conditions, you know, traditional equipment, and this is what one of the things AirGreen is all about, the traditional equipment can consume considerable amounts of energy. And we're certainly starting to see a lot more movement in the indoor growing space because, you know, it's very expensive to grow indoors from an energy consumption point of view. There are implications on the HVAC equipment that you might select. So a typical approach might be a traditional rooftop DX unit with indoor dehumidifiers. And, you know, the pros and cons are, you know, the equipment, DX units are commonplace, easy to service, relatively low capital cost. But providing precise temperature and humidity control can be difficult, particularly on a night versus day basis. With the DX equipment typically being located outside, they're tough to operate when you need to cool in winter conditions outdoors. And the standalone dehumidifiers, as they are cooling to the dew point, they are dumping heat into the conditioned space as well. So this approach presents a comparatively high energy usage. The split systems, where you can spend a little bit more, you get a little bit higher capital cost, and you also offset that with some lower energy costs as well. And what I'm going to talk a little bit about are the desiccant systems, where you have dry desiccant wheels. They can be cost effective, but require considerable energy to operate. You have to pre-cool the air before they go to the wheel that removes moisture from the airstream. And then you have to, and since that generates a lot of heat, then you have to cool again. So we can often be, you know, 1/3 of the operating cost as compared to dry desiccant systems. And then you have liquid desiccant systems. We have a brine solution that strips moisture out of the air and doesn't require much, if any, reheat, and you know, saves a ton of energy. So this is what we do at AirGreen. We have a patented multi-stage liquid desiccant air conditioning process. It's a new technology. We've received patents in basically in most of the major countries around the world. We've got China, Japan, India, Canada, US, Mexico, we're waiting on the EU. It's a multi-stage process where the airstream goes through and it's, we present a chilled brine solution to a series of stages of wetted out media. That media is in contact with the airstream. We strip the moisture out of that. And then on the regeneration side, we basically do the opposite. The heated desiccant releases that moisture back into the air that's exhausted from the building. There are a number of benefits. We get, one, we're able to remove moisture aggressively and at very high volumes. We can save 50 to 60% in energy costs related to traditional equipment. We're also able to scrub the air of a variety of different pathogens, including molds, bacteria, and viruses. And it's been proven independently to also kill the real live COVID-19 virus. So we're looking at technologies for schools and other applications as well, where because ASHRAE has recommended that all the schools increase their ventilation, that presents an additional cooling load and an additional dehumidification load that the existing equipment's not designed to handle. And you could literally put our stuff in on the front end to pre-treat the additional outside ventilation air, or you could approach it in a way of recirculating and scrubbing the air inside the schools so that you're killing all the bad things that are there. Here's a little view of our equipment. Looks a lot like industrial HVAC equipment. You can see our corrugated media that gets wetted out with our brine solution. And then this is the exit side of the other unit, which has you know, demisting elements to make sure that everything that needs to stay in the box can. It allows us to improve and increase the level of ventilation air into facilities. Again, we provide significant savings in energy consumption. And many of you guys probably know that the traditional HVAC industry has incrementally improved, but there hasn't been many real breakthroughs in energy usage. The necessity to control humidity continues to grow. It's standard practice in hospital environments as a means to control pathogens. And, we think that we have an interesting set of solutions that allow our customers in a variety of different industries to not only save some in capital cost, but also treat the air in a much more energy efficient basis and create much higher indoor air quality as a result. And why we're working with our friend over here at Second Chances Farm is because the humidity load requirements for indoor agriculture is so high, both the air quality and energy consumption considerations, are really in our sweet spot of what we do. So that's what Airgreen does. And we're looking forward to working with Ajit as this program expands into Philadelphia and in reducing the, the energy footprint of that facility.
Yeah. John and Ajit, thank you so much. We have a lot of questions in the chat. I don't think we have enough time to go through all of them, but we'll collect those questions and send over to you as well for follow-up to our group. But I'll take a couple of the questions in here because we're at 8:37 and we got all of our subcommittees to report out. So I'm just going to pick a couple here. So Christina Drexel, who's one of the folks helping out our urban agriculture, asked a question about how is Second Chance addressing equity concerns that are sort of broader in the agricultural practices in terms of racial divisions of labor. And then as a for-profit company, how are you managing to keep food affordable enough? So we saw some of the economic sides of where how the food is getting out there, but I guess from an affordability standpoint, how is that being addressed from your company?
Okay, from a social equity point, because we almost exclusively hire from returning citizens, we are focused on a community that almost nobody else is exclusively focused on. And from a racial point of view and otherwise, it's who is coming out, who has served time. So I think we have done a pretty good job of recruiting people because it's the underbelly of the world that almost no one else touches. The other part I should say is we pay what we consider a living wage in Delaware, which is we pay, after their initial training, we pay $31,200 a year plus medical benefits. That is a number that allows us to attract the very best of the returning citizens. So we pay pretty well for, and we are way above the minimum wage. I think Delaware is like $8 a minimum wage. We're almost twice that, and plus the medical benefits and other benefits that we offer. So that's how we deal with the social equity. The food is not cheaper than any other food. So I would simply say that if you go to the grocery store and buy basil or pak choy or bok choy or mescaline, our prices will be the same. The truth is there is no cheap way to produce food. We haven't found it yet. If we could, we would. So the cost would be the same as a grocery store. We don't charge more, but we can't charge less because that's what the cost of food is. And the way we deal with the food inequities is that we have been working with sponsors, corporate sponsors and others to underwrite the cost of food, and then we deliver. So for example, Newcastle County used part of its COVID money last fall and underwrote 180 farm-to-home deliveries to people living in public housing, and we did that for 90 days. There's no way that they would have bought it. They could have bought it otherwise. So food access continues to be a challenge, and simply because even if you're a nonprofit, the actual cost of goods sold are X, the HVAC, the electricity, the lights, the system, and if we pay $31,200, we can't do it. We can't give away food. So what we end up doing is finding partners who have interest in the food insecurity world and support that by providing it. So that's my short answer.
Thank you. So one other sort of group, I'm sort of group this together into the topic of reduce, recycle. You mentioned in the video about getting rid of the remaining sort of non-edible pieces of the plant. There's a question about, you know, what happens with that? Is it getting recycled, composted, sort of put back into the stream? But sort of another piece of this is the packaging side of things. If you're looking at ways of reducing the use of plastics and using compostables or reusables in your packaging. So it's sort of a two-part piece here, like how are you handling waste internally and how are you minimizing waste and sort of the, you know, acquiring the product?
Right. So let me talk about packaging. Packaging is our weakest spot because plastic continues to be the cheapest thing. We have been talking to manufacturers like Veggieware that make what is similar to plastic containers using recycled vegetable stuff. Veggieware is about 2 to 3 times the price of the cheaper plastic. So it continues to be an Achilles heel for us, packaging. The problem is people expect stuff to be packaged as opposed to being loose. Particularly with COVID, they want to see it as prepackaged. So it remains on our wish list is to find affordable, even if it is 25 or 50% more, but when it's 4 times the price, it really changes the economics of the scale. And again, neither the grocery store nor does anybody want to pay more for compostable. So that is one of our Achilles heels, and I'll just admit that up front. We have tried composting, and the reality is there's 2 components. We generate a lot of stuff. So what we need to find is somebody who can compost at scale. We haven't found that yet. We have a small compost pile that we do just to practice. But so we can compost all the food elements which is on it. But there's a piece which is a inert substance that we use to grow the stuff, which is called rock wool, which is volcanic rock which is spun at high speeds, which is what we grow it in. That is not compostable. So we are looking for an alternative to that. Hemp has become a choice. So we're using hemp material as a growing material. And there are a couple other things we're testing now that is an alternative to rock wool, whereby we can compost all of the raw materials that we don't use in a compost pile. But the amount of stuff we generate is pretty large, and it'll be very interesting in Philadelphia, which is a huge farm compared to what we have in Wilmington, because we will generate, and it'll be really nice to partner with someone who is in the business of composting at scale, because it's huge. It's a lot of compost material.
David, you're muted.
We have plenty of other comments and questions in here. We'll compile these and send them over to you and then share back out to our group. One of the questions is, would you be willing to share a PDF of your presentation from today?
At least I can. Yeah,
It's already ready. So
ready.
We'll be happy to send it along.
We'll happily send it
okay.
along. And
Thank you. Much appreciated.